Good morning, everybody. Okay, everybody, stop talking. Usually I get more, oh good, almost everybody stopped talking. Good. Okay, everybody. Oh good, quiet. Okay. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Orangevale, California, where we get up every day and do something great for the world. Something like that. So we didn't really get the greeter thing didn't quite happen because I think one of them is not here. So anyway,
hello everybody.
Hi. Thank you. I appreciate that. I think. So Dennis, would you lead us in the pledge? Please join me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the invocation this morning will be by Bert.
Give her 5 minutes.
Hi, Bert. Would somebody like to do an invocation? Oh, thank you, Audrey.
Father God, thank you for gathering us here today safely. We pray for those that are unable to be with us. And Lord, we pray for rain as we need it. And we pray that you would bless all the veterans for their service and keep those that are serving us now safe. Lord, just direct us in our actions to make this world a better place. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Great, please be seated. Okay.
This is learning.
So let's see. I've lost control again. Do we have any? That's true. Do we have any visiting Rotarians? I don't think so today. But we do have at least one visitor. Looking for other visitors. Brian, would you like to introduce our visitor this morning?
Yes, I'd be happy to. I'd like you all to meet Brianne Osley. She is Director of Sales at Almond Heights Senior Living.
Good morning.
She's in the right place now.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah.
Where are you talking to?
Yes, I'm sure she feels right at home with us. So a few announcements. Anne, would you like to start?
Yes, I would. I'm in the card making business these days. Thanks to Orangevale Coffee, students at Castro Bay Interact Club can pick up in the main office a card making packet. Blank cards, envelopes for them to start creating. Creating for what? Well, let me tell you more. A group of very creative Interact students have developed a card making project. Our intent is to deliver handmade greeting cards to nursing homes, assisted living residences, teachers, healthcare providers, first responders, to brighten the spirits of so many in need of sunshine and appreciation. Happy birthday, thank you for your service. We appreciate you. Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, and many more greetings will come from the students. And I am here today to talk about that and to say that it never ceases to amaze me how things are lined up to happen as they are. 2 days ago, I dropped off a letter about this project to Almond Heights and Eschaton on Oak Avenue. And today I'll follow up and say, are you wanting to receive these wonderful, creative, light-filled cards? And I'm sure they're going to say, and then our president, Gianna, never ceases to amaze us with her ideas. She lives in the neighborhood of Trajan Elementary. She has younger siblings who go there. So she writes a letter to the principal. She says, my name is Gianna Cantu. I'm in 11th grade and the president of the Interact Club. Our club is looking for virtual and COVID-19 friendly ways to help our community during distance learning. She said, I am reaching out to see if any of your staff would be interested in collaborating with our club to make distance learning a little more fun and exciting. We could offer a read aloud and have book discussions, do crafts or small cooking demonstrations, tutoring sessions, or any other ideas you may have over Zoom. Whoa. So anyway, we're working on so many different new ideas. It's pretty exciting, a little scary. It takes us a while to get used to the rules behind all of this, but we're doing it. And it struck me as I'm driving here today from Gold River, only 12 minutes away, that there might be Rotarians in this room that love to create, that say, well, I'll make some cards. The idea is you don't sign your full name on the inside, but what I will be doing is receiving the finished cards from the students in the main office at Casserole, and I will be delivering them to the facilities that said they'd love to receive them. So what do you think? Would you like to create with us?
Thank you, Ann. So for those who are watching this on YouTube, that was Ann Heinley. I didn't realize until you were about halfway through that the thing is aimed right here today, and so you were not in view. But hopefully, I'm sure they'll be able to hear you. That's something we need to get used to, is now that we are recording this and uploading it to YouTube, that we need to be, if you're doing something like this, that you come where you're in the view of wherever the camera may be. Again, since we don't have to use our projector today, we didn't need to have it in the middle of the room and all that. So it's there. So just keep that in mind. Don, when you make any announcement you have, or do you have any today?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Don Russell, I'm your club service chairman.
Hi, Don.
So let's see, who can I pick on? Jeff. Why can't a nose be 12 inches long?
It's not a foot.
Why can't a nose? I didn't call on you. It's a prospect. Why can't a nose be 12 inches long?
Because it's not a phone.
That's right.
That's a good answer.
So we've got a couple things planned. We're looking into, with the county changing some of the rules, possibility of doing an outdoor event at Red Bus, because they have an outdoor warehouse. So we'd actually be inside, but it counts as outdoor space. So look for an email on that, and that's all that I have for now. Thank you.
So as you know, I'm sure everybody knows, it looks like next week, after 2 glorious weeks here, we're going to be back to Zoom meetings for a while, or until we can come up with another larger room where we can socially distance. We'll see what happens, but just kind of expect that the next week at least, and maybe a few more, will be Zoom meetings. Sorry. Also, I have a thing to talk about. It's attendance. You know how Rotary is with attendance. Attendance is real important, right, Phyllis? It's really important, yes. And well, I was just looking yesterday at the district level, the district website, and there was a thing about attendance, and the club with the highest percentage of attendance in our district the last month, and maybe a couple of other months, was the Orangevale Rotary Club. Yeah, we're at 84% as an average for the month, which is pretty good. And it was interesting. I don't know, they didn't give the whole list. It gave like the top 3 and the bottom 3, but the bottom club was 24%, and that was the Yuba City Club, which is our district governor's club.
You know this is going on YouTube, right?
Maybe I shouldn't have said that. I think that's his club. There's 2 clubs that way. Oh, I have a little something that I should have done last week with the introduction of our new member, and that is, you know how Rotary is all about pins. We've all got to have our pins on. We have pins for everything. So Brian, if you could come up for a moment. This is a photo op where is our
Oh,
photo
yeah,
op
that's
space?
me. I got it.
Yeah, okay.
Hold on.
This is your latest Rotary sponsor pin, because he has brought in a new member, so he's the sponsoring member for our newest member, and smile at
Smile. Okay, it's perfect.
Thank you, Steve.
Here, you need a pen.
Okay, now we have a couple of minutes before we have breakfast. Bill Wagner has some things to talk about.
I would like to ask Phyllis and Jonathan and Mike McKibben to join me up here.
What'd you do?
You can just line up on this side. Everyone sees this banner here.
Yeah,
What does it say?
100%.
100% Paul Harris Fellow Club. Today, I am awarding 2 new Paul Harris Fellows to Jonathan and to Phyllis. This is for their contributions to the community and to the club. And to Mike McKibben, he's getting a Paul Harris +1 for his contributions to the Rotary Foundation. The mission of the Rotary Foundation is to support the efforts of Rotary International in the fulfillment of the objective of Rotary's international mission, and the achievement of world understanding and peace throughout local, national, international, humanitarian, educational, and cultural programs. The programs of the Rotary Foundation include projects that save and invigorate the lives of people around the world and enhance international friendship and understanding. These programs include providing food, water, healthcare, immunizations, shelter, and educational opportunities for millions of people. We have long recognized Rotarians who contribute to the Rotary Foundation, the arm of Rotary International, which receives and disperses funds that support our cause of increasing world understanding and peace. We recognize them in many ways. Those who contribute $100 a year are recognized as sustaining member. We also recognize people who contribute $1,000 a year. They have a Paul Harris little pin like this. But this is the Paul Harris Award, recognized by a pin of Paul Harris. And when you get a Paul Harris +1, you get a little ruby here. So I'm going to hand these out, and you get the pin yourself. This is for Mike.
Thank you very much.
And would you pass it down to Phyllis? And to Jonathan. And we also wanted to award one to James Maniscalco for his international projects, and he is on the board this year. James wasn't able to be here today. We'll make that presentation to him during the week. So, yeah, I'll make sure that he gets it. So I have the award to Phyllis.
Oh. Thank you. Thank you all.
And to Jonathan. Mike, they don't give you, you get this on your first one, but not on the.
All right, you gotta look this way.
Just like Phyllis.
Cheese.
So I would like to ask everyone at this time to please stand and congratulate these 3 people. And that's progress towards us becoming a 100% club again.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, that's nice, isn't it? Okay, we're going to skip the vocational talk this morning and go straight to breakfast. I've got it down here so I didn't forget like last week. We are having food today. Yay! so let's break for a few minutes and everybody grab yourself a little something to eat, and we'll meet back in a little bit.
Sue, you want to show Brianna the way?
Yes, our guests go first, so that's you. And we get in trouble if we don't let somebody else ahead of us.
Really? Yes. Fire company had a
I'd like That's when all the physical work is done. That's my work day normally.
That was what I was wondering.
Yeah, I don't have to stay the whole time, no.
I'm trying to make Friday night.
Yeah, don't feel like you have to
What do you say, 60 something? You're doing it Zoom, so yeah, computers.
Did you give her $1? Thanks, I didn't know. Maybe she didn't have her form.
sorry, I thought we did this last week. Did you change the marks?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, I thought we did it. So he says, you didn't? I said, no, I think I did last week. Hey, were you trying to get too balanced?
What's really funny is I read, so out of my way, to get some to send out all these emails and then I forgot my list. And I didn't hear it. Everyone was all ready. Oh my goodness.
I can tell you're a person that likes to do your homework.
I like to get.
Right, I always think that way. Yeah, you were probably starting so. I bet you're like, so I should work on
No, I really wouldn't. That's would rather be running the track. I'd rather be basketball.
Keeping in high school.
I probably read a book.
I do too.
Panic. Where are the first two pages?
And different.
Third speed.
What I do is I'm not on Facebook. I do
No, I almost thought to do teaching. Because I used to see
I'd like to get, so I can go sit my dog, I'd like to get on my back. That's important to me. There would be lots of, yeah, for everything.
What year did they make it?
And they go different kinds of.
Yeah, so.
You didn't turn where I was. That's what, supposed to be December, that is very early. So, we're having a micro light and so originally I was going to be what we could do. It's amazing, very
Basically, still a quarter mile. No, it's an 8. Even the
It's not raced.
that's a
Oh, that place. Well, you know, it's never.
So everybody can continue eating, but it's time for one of your favorite parts of the day. A prospector is here to prospect. Get your wallets out.
Well, Sue, sorry in advance, but I think that you're automatically prospector next month.
Oh, no.
I know.
No, I want to do it. I can't wait.
Oh, wait, we have a 4-way. Let's do a quick
quick check, please, of pins and badges. They're $1 each if you don't have them. Right, and now, Mitch.
Yes.
Dear Mitch.
Here, Mitch.
Yes, you are, of course, the reason I am here today, standing up here, right? So it would only be fair to get you caught up with what you missed last week. Yeah, right. Okay, without any help from back there. Right.
him alone?
Mitch, what is the gemstone associated with November?
I'm gonna say ruby.
That's $1. No, it's topaz. And the flower that is associated with November?
In California?
Yeah, okay.
The marijuana leaf?
No, not yet, no. Chrysanthemum, no, so that's another $1. And since we're on a roll, Mitch.
What's that?
There are 2 zodiac signs in November, and they are,
In November?
yes,
2. Capricorn?
no.
No.
Okay, gives up. All right, so that's another $1 each. They are, oh, I should go to another table. Dave?
Keep hammering, no.
Dave.
Dave's not here. Oh, wait. Pisces.
No, anybody else at that table? No, so that table, $1 each. Okay, we'll move along. Locating food over here.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay. Dennis, for your table, any, either of the 2 zodiac signs in November?
Scorpio, Sagittarius.
Correct? Thank you, Dennis. We'll
job,
let-
Dennis.
we'll let you-
I thought you said our table.
I did, but then I did pick up a name.
Oh.
Yes, Mitch.
Madam Prospector,
Yes.
in great reverence and respect
Reverence and
for
respect.
you,
Oh.
I'll throw in 20.
Oh, thank you. Okay, all right. Mitch. Okay. Would you please tell me the meaning of frigatriskaidekaphobia?
Please repeat the question.
Yes, I would like to know the meaning of frigatriskaidekaphobia.
Fear of train?
No, fear of being a prospector.
No?
That's $1.
Oh, I like that, thank you. No, you're giving up?
Yeah.
Anybody happen to know?
Could you say it again?
Friday the 13th.
Yes, the fear of Friday the 13th. Okay, very good. All right. Okay, so for this next question, any raised hands, I will not call on you individually. Yes, in anticipation.
You said you weren't
Yeah,
called.
I did say that. Okay, so for the next question, how many of you believe that you have some sort of handle on the origin of Friday the 13th phobia? Fear of that? Nobody. And I even promised not to call it one person. Well, they're so hidden in the midst of time. There are lots and lots of theories, but nothing fixed. So I thought there would be so many more volunteers there that I was going to let all hands up, which is just Patty, off because you could all be right. And so for everybody else then, right, cough up the button.
That was brutal.
Okay. Mitch. Last week, because of course you watched the makeup meeting on YouTube. Mitch, we auctioned something off last week. What was that? Oh. Right, we'll just keep adding to your tally. Okay, well, this month happens to also be Peanut Butter Lovers Month. So, in here, not made by Audrey, are peanut butter cookies. And they are for auction. What are they? Peanut butter cookies.
I'll give you $1.
Okay, we got $1 over there.
I'll give you 2.
All right, two there.
4.
Okay, 4 with Dawn. 5 with Bill.
20.
Whoa!
He likes peanut butter.
They're good ones. Okay, going.
21.
Oh.
22.
Okay, 22.
23.
Oh,
Whew, I was gonna suck it
I was gonna bring something in next week.
But you have to open it and share them here.
Okay, well, that'll be yours. Okay, 23, going on, and happy finds before we close out. Any happy finds? Happy finds, yep, Diane.
Winter Garden is going great. That's aloe, tiger aloe, and pups. So if you wanna, they're literally called pups. You wanna aloe splits and they produce the same. So that is an aloe pup. I wasn't making it up. Anyway, and a bunch of leaves. If you need to scrape them off, you fillet them just like a fish and rub them on. I don't wanna know what you're gonna rub them on. But they're great for sunburns and any kind of injuries or skin ailments. So help yourself.
Thank you. Any other happy finds, Diane?
I was just telling our table that Thanksgiving will be very special. My son is coming from Minnesota, not only to celebrate Thanksgiving, but his birthday, he turns 38.
Oh, we forget about that. Very good. Any more happies? Yes, Mike.
Yeah, my wife was writing a grant this weekend, and we were trying to figure out what it was, and we figured out that this year is the 25th anniversary of her first book, which also means it's the 25th anniversary of supporting me in the way I want to become a customer.
Very good. That's awesome. Okay, any others? All right, turning it back over.
Great.
Good job.
Well done, Phyllis. Okay, so this morning we are going to be educated. To introduce our speaker this morning, it's pretty easy because he's one of us. And so I'd like to have, without any further introduction, because we all know him, I realize that you don't, but he's an educator guy. Mr. Mike McKibben, please come on.
He's going to talk until I stand up.
That's right.
So,
Because I've got about 3 speeches, and we're going to go until he stands up. The title of this speech is "We Plan, God Laughs." That's a joke, folks.
Courtesy laugh.
Thank you, appreciate it. Because what I'm going to, the first third of this speech is going to be on school reopenings. We plan, God laughs. It's changed, this speech has changed 3 times this week. One of the things that we have tried to pride ourselves in San Juan School District is the whole notion of choice. And that has been no exception now. We have we're operating with 3 different choices that parents can have, and we have about 39,000 children in our pre-K through high school. We have about another 5,000 in adult education. We have about another 5,000 in early childhood education that don't count in that approximately 39,000. All of them are affected by the pandemic that we are in. Currently, we have 3 options. One is a homeschool option that we have approximately 1,000 students in, and they've been in it since August. We have a second option, which is an independent study option, which is for high school students, and that option has about 600 in it right now, and then the remainder right now are in the distance learning option, with the exception 470 moderate to severe special education students that we moved into a 5-day-a-week option live in their schools, places like Laurel, Ralph Richardson, and the other moderate severe things, because frankly, they were getting nothing out of distance learning. And though it is a risky proposition to do this, frankly, their education just absolutely demanded it. When we we've tried to use surveys and try to involve parents at every turn in this sort of thing. And the special education students were no exception. When we did our first survey, the parents said, no, we're not sure we want to do this. But in fact, when we got the final things and got set up the budget schedule, in fact, 90% of the moderate and severe parents sent their kids to school and so forth. One of the things we were worried about was, what would be the drop-off if in this pandemic, and frankly, most of the school districts and that sort of thing had a fairly significant, meaning more than 10% drop-off in the number of students. Our student population dropped by 160, which is about 0.5%. So kudos to the parents of San Juan Unified for sticking with us. So we started on April 13th thinking, and in fact we started on April 13th with the plan that we would indeed begin live teaching then. Decree happened that week. We had to switch almost immediately over to distance learning. And we thought that indeed what would happen to a number of students. And that is when we were surprised pleasantly by indeed having our students come to school. And that's what, as I say, in some cases, we literally used bus drivers, we used campus monitors, that sort of thing, to go to the houses of students. And in some cases, parents said, oh, I didn't know school was going to be starting, and so forth. And so they started to come. Now, fast forwarding over things that, though it is very interesting to see our latest survey of our parents and trying to figure out what we are going to do with the next step. And of that, we have approximately 5,000 elementary students and 5,000 secondary students that have opted to continue on doing distance learning. In order to, and then so we have a little less than 10,000 students that we need to have teachers for them. And that comes out to being about a little over 300 teachers. One of the things that means is that if you do the math, we have about between 70 and 75% of our students coming back to school. And because we can only put about 14 students in each room, we don't have enough space for all of them to come back at the same time. So the system that we have devised, and this is where it's changed this week, and may change again, since indeed, as you all know, this week we turned back to purple. Without all the prognostication is that we're going to be in purple for a long time, because most of the evidence that we have is that the cases of COVID are coming from relatively small group breakouts, and frankly, we don't want our school system to become a super spreader. So our proposal is that beside the moderate severe, we are planning on coming back to school on January 5th. And that is for and I'll talk a little bit about how we plan on doing this. Since literally April, we have been working on different kinds of things, and it's allowed us to do some things that we have not done. For example, we have changed every filter in every school twice over now, and we basically have bought the filters well before other school districts did. So we actually can continue to change the filters in every school. We have put plexiglass up in every classroom. We have at least 3 Purell stations or the equivalent in every classroom to try to get ready for our students coming. As it turns out, the change over to having 25% of our students permanently, at least permanently for this year, on distance learning, at the high school level is substantially easier than the elementary school, because indeed the way high school teachers teach, they teach and we can actually have, if a teacher has a load of 5 classrooms, we can have 4 of them in person, and one of those classes can be online. So it actually makes the personnel, because reality is that what we're doing is, according to our contract and all the contracts on the state, these are working conditions. They're all bargainable. We have approximately 300 teachers that are medically fragile. And so those are the first teachers that we will have doing distance learning. But the others will have to come, and frankly, we don't have enough teachers and enough spaces to accommodate them. So that's how this thing has changed this week. And we will begin, unless it's decided, and it's very possible between now and January 5th, that it will be decided that we'll go to full distance again. But right now, our plan is to do basically an AM, PM, 4 days a week, hybrid model, with a selected group of students coming in the morning and working on projects, still having teachers, still having specialists, still having aides, and that's available to them in the afternoon. So and then for 2 days, and then we'll switch off for 2 days, and frankly, we'll have, and half of the students will come 2 days a week, the other half will come in the afternoon, some will come in the morning, and then we'll switch with each. The model that I wanted, frankly, was the one that was the least popular with parents, and all of this was based upon surveys. The one that I wanted to do was I wanted to have a half of our students in class for 2 days, and the other half in class, while the remainder actually watched using cameras in the classroom to maximize the amount of teaching time. And maybe somebody can explain this to me. That ended up for both teachers and students to be the least popular. I don't understand it at all, but that's the one I wanted, and frankly, as I go back to the title of this speech. So that's where we are. As I said, we have, really want to thank, the parents for trusting in us, even though they don't think we can find our butt with both hands in some cases. But on the other hand, we'll get through this. And I'm going to stop there and see if you have questions before I move to the second portion of it. That's just kind of an overview, but I'm much more interested in your questions and actually having you people help us figure this out, because frankly, we're guessing. And we hope we guess right.
So the first question
Yeah.
is, what's the attendance been like pre-COVID versus post-COVID? Is it? And second, I've seen reports like LA on how significant their budget has been impacted because both of attendance and lack of
The legislature, and I'm not sure it was the right thing to do, but the legislature basically has held us harmless this year. We have the exact same budget this year that we had last year. And for a number of districts that lost literally hundreds, in some cases thousands of students, that's extra money that they have that they can spend on things like that. Without the, help me, Sue, the name of the first federal stimulus, was that CARES? Without the CARES Act, we have literally used millions of dollars from the CARES Act to buy our masks, to buy those filters, to do all those sorts of things. Right where we are now is that money basically expires about the same time the county, sometime in the spring, that money will be gone. And without another one, we expect next year to have somewhere between 10 and 20% less money to work with in our budget. 90% of a school's budget is in salary and benefits. Approximately, it's about 88, but somewhere in that order. That we are instituting a early retirement system to try to reduce our budget, seeing what's coming in next year. Our attendance has been good, not great. But one of the differences between last spring and now is that we do indeed take attendance. And we do expect students to be there. Now, reality is this is particularly difficult because frankly, students can put their picture up and be off and that sort of thing. We, most of the time, are doing 3 hours of instruction live, and the rest of it is working with groups, working with aides, taking tests. We're trying to do all kinds of things, breaking into small groups as the Zoom allows us to do it. But our attendance, our average daily attendance is about 95% in a normal time. We're about 90 right now. Yeah.
You mentioned you didn't want to become a super spreader. What's the number of reported cases right now?
Our cases are, the answer your thing is we don't know. Because one of the things that we have planned for and haven't set up is basically this dashboard where we report cases, where we track the cases. But because of that, we don't have any real reporting mechanism right now to be able to answer your question. That's part of why we want to get back.
But there are suppositions nationwide that children don't spread this disease, so are you spending money to develop a system for a precaution that's not real?
If that's possible, but frankly, right now we have there's a good deal. There is a supposition that children don't spread as much as anybody else, but there's pretty good evidence that there is a spread, and as long as we need to get, frankly, below 3% positive cases in order for us to not spread. Frankly, even for children, our percentage rate across the country is higher than 3%. Yes, Sue?
Mike, a lot of the parents and students that I've talked to are very concerned about isolation, and I was interested in your thoughts regarding videoing a actual class and how parents didn't like that, and I kind of wondered if it's because right now parents are in a position where they're trying to figure out how to work, and now that students can sign in online at their own discretion in their own time. Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
For the most part, actually, we take attendance at high school every period.
Oh, okay, so they have to be
Yeah.
online at a certain time?
Yeah.
There's not a way to record those, live learning sessions?
We don't.
So they can go back and watch it later and email their questions?
For example, one of the things that we did was that we had 80 teachers do what I call canned lessons, on medieval England. One of them did virtual field trips and that sort of thing. And we have some amazing things that they can watch, but they do that in what we call the asynchronous time for those lessons, and there are assignments like that. But we want to have, it's extraordinarily important that we have approximately at a minimum of 3 hours of live instruction with the teacher, plus time like assignment times. They turn in assignments. They have basically teachers are holding office hours, if you will, and that's in the non time to talk to teachers. We have aides, resource specialists, and that sort of thing. Work even the time that there's not live teaching, working with students, and so we have a good deal of contact, not as much as they would get in normal times. But I don't know the answer to your question. Is why I'm blithering here. But we're trying different kinds of things to see what works and what doesn't. Why parents and kids and teachers don't want us having cameras in the classroom and so forth has to do with human nature as much as anything else. But frankly, one of the things we pride ourselves is trying to do what the parents think is best for their kids, because they are the first teacher.
And just really quick, what I think is so interesting is I talked to the hospital council this week, and they basically said a lot of the ICU cases are going to the floor. They're having a lot of success with treatments now, and people are not dying.
That's right.
Our death rate topped out in August, and it's going down, and so the metrics that we're going by are based on the number of positive cases, but not the number of people in the hospital room or number of people who are dying, which doesn't make sense to me. We don't go out and test people for the flu. It's like in a pandemic, we've never relied on testing, finding out who was exposed to it. It was always based on the death rate or the result or the impact. And so that is also a question in my mind regarding
this week,
the metrics.
In the last 3 days, we've had a significant uptick in deaths, though, as you know, and particularly in places like
the deaths, I heard
Dakotas.
were on a downward trend.
Well, but in across the country, but if you look at 19 states, the death rate's going up. In 31 states, the death rate's going down.
What
So,
about California?
what? California is incredibly stable right now, but that does. But stable means we're having 1,000. What is it? How many? More than 1,000 new cases a day is stable.
Yeah, I don't know how to wrap my head around it because we're testing more also.
That's
so
we're
we're
also
gonna have
testing.
more cases.
And we're also showing. But the reality is that
It's complicated.
that Sue and I are in the same place. Basically, I can't live with the idea that the policies that I'm doing have the potential to have somebody's grandfather, grandmother, or mother or father die. So I'm going to err on the side of caution. Probably, I hope I'm wrong. But on the other hand, I can't live with it any other way. Yeah.
I'm going to preface this by saying that if I had lost my senior year in high school to pandemic, and specifically baseball, that helped to form the person I am today. I don't know that I would be the positive member of society that I am today if I had lost that. has your board and you given any consideration to the damage that's being done to these kids by not being in school, by not fulfilling their dreams, by not socializing, and what are we creating for these kids in the near future?
Well, all the things that we can do, for example, one of the things that we're working on is the amazing amount of time that teachers are taking, talking individually to those people. Yeah, our plan literally this week for the rest of the year is basically going to hybrid learning from January until spring break, and then going basically live from spring break and having graduations come.
What I'm asking, Mike, is did your board give that any serious consideration? You're worried about grandma and grandpa at home. They can choose to stay away from the kids. These kids have no choice that's being thrust upon them.
Well,
was there discussion to that?
We have 56% of our students are on free and reduced lunch. We have 40% of our children that live with their grandparents in their houses in this district. The reality, the number that we're assuming that all of us live in kind of single family and grandparents are separated.
They can still take precautions.
In fact, in 40% of our homes, we have multi-generational houses. The risk is, frankly, we're using the advice of the scientists and what they're telling us. You're right.
Well, what I hear you saying is, no, that was not considered, is what I hear you saying.
Trust me, it was considered. I happen to have a son that didn't go through graduation this year. Whether he'll be able to go through his next graduation in August, and we'll get to see that. It is absolutely very hard, but the reality is that for me, this is the equivalent of war. During World War II, we had the same kinds of things that people had to do, lost their baseball, lost their graduations, lost those sort of things. I consider, and this is the first time this has happened in 100 years. 1918 was the last time. Yeah, we did lose that sort of thing. But the reality is, if you look back to 1918, millions and millions of people died. We put actually soldiers on ships that didn't make it to World War I because they were death ships. We simply did take into consideration that sort of thing, and we put into place for people things like Care Solace, which is a 24/7 mental health assistance program. We try to have the teachers call the students. You're right. Your baseball schedule probably did indeed have a great deal to do with the episode, similar to my 2 years in the Peace Corps had to do with me. The reality is that I hope that other lessons were learned which will eventually balance off that sort of thing. I have no certainty of that. And you're right, we may well be wrong, but the fact remains is that if we're going to be educators, we have to believe in science. And science says we have to protect our adults, our kids, our grandparents, and that's where we've erred wrong. We may well be wrong, and you may be right, but it's the call we've made. Yeah,
I happen to like your idea about the learning model of the cameras and everything. Will you get any feedback why that wasn't a popular choice?
The feedback that we have received has been all over it. Among those things is you're violating our privacy. Is probably
In the classroom?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't buy that one.
And also at home, I've run into that a lot with my customers.
Yeah.
They will videotape outside. They don't want to be videotaping in their home.
Yeah. And frankly, if we're going to be true to our thing, and which is indeed giving choice to listening to what people say. We basically have to follow that, even though it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But we're at this point, Bill, we're afraid we're gonna survey people out. We're at the third survey in 4 months right now, and we have to be relatively careful how many questions we ask and so forth. But I'm curious, and the answer is, we're guessing. Yeah, Eileen.
I'm gonna have to agree with Rob. I have a daughter that's 18.
Yep.
And she's really going through a rough time.
Oh, we do that.
It's really hard for her. And then I have an 11-year-old who's fine. He's doing great. We have a bubble that we get together with a couple of the kids, but my 18-year-old's doing really bad. So I agree with you.
She feels isolated?
Yeah.
That's
And everything takes away. She's just having a rough time. So yeah, I agree with you, Rob. 100%.
Yeah, and this, we're gonna lose some kids, and that scares the bejeebers out of me, but.
I would encourage you, Mike, to consider that versus worrying about, you're, as you said, an educator, your concern should be the kids, not grandma and grandma at home. They can worry about themselves. You should be, I think, worried about kids. You're Mike.
I think it's good that you put so much thought, and I know how hard you guys are working. And I think it's good that we talk about this because it's our civic duty to question and the economic repercussions can have an effect on our national security.
Yeah, all of those things are true. I mean, we're absolutely on, other than war footing is as close as we've ever come to what we're facing. And we'll get that when we get back. For example, we plan on January 1st. In every school will have 3 rooms where we can isolate anybody that coughs into their and that's the thing. And we have all kinds of steps set up for when we have those sort of things. But if indeed the reality is that the stories we're being told is that the best preventative there is what we have on our faces right now, and so forth. But and the reality is, we were talking before about when a vaccine comes, what percentage of the population is going to even take the vaccine, and so forth. I think we have, the way we're looking at it is, we have to plan for the long haul. And as long as what is currently being called COVID fatigue happens, we're going to continue to have the kinds of numbers and be in purple and that sort of thing. So right now, I must tell you that the only thing that makes me optimistic is the incredible resiliency of our kids and so forth. And having a kid that we're talking to way more than I ever expected to, and he's a 23-year-old kid that is isolated in his room 8,000 miles away. Ours is a very minor kind of thing compared to Eileen's stories and that sort of thing. But all I have for you is say, we're going to do the best we can. We don't know whether we're going to be right or not, but we're going to try to, we are trusting science. We're trusting what those people who ought to know the answers. But when I realize that some of the people that ought to know the answers are people like me and I don't, we'll put one foot in front of the other. Patty?
Well, especially with teenagers, but also with little children, they need to socialize too, but particularly with teenagers, what they're going through anyway. Does the school district have an avenue for some counseling or that sort of thing for this situation they're in? You know, they can't. Is there a hotline or?
I mentioned to you that we have a 24/7 hotline that's run. We actually contracted it out to a group called Care Solace, and they've been well used and that sort of thing. And we're paying for it out of CARES funds. But it's not only for kids, it's for their parents, their grandparents. Anybody can call that number. We have doubled the suicide helpline that we have. We're that afraid of things. I mean,
Yes.
And frankly, the suicide helpline has been used significantly. It scares the bejeebers out of me.
Yes.
But in terms of, we can put these systems in place, we can pay for them, we can do that sort of thing, but it still doesn't, talk to what Eileen's talking to about, that we're encouraging kids with masks to get together and to talk to each other. We want the clubs, the kinds of things that Ann does and that sort of thing. We want those.
But they're also socially distanced.
Yes.
And that's very.
But they can get together, but they have to be very conscious of that. So they have to understand that they can't rip their mask off as soon as they see a friend. I mean, there are kinds of precautions we can take and so forth, but we also know that the largest spreader right now is small groups.
Small groups.
Yep. Enough?
Where's our photographer?
Right here, I'm right here, I'm sorry, oh yeah.
It's something you can do.
Right here.
So thank you very much. We shake hands on that. Use your very own pen made by me.
This is very special. Okay, we've got 2 more speeches coming now.
Wow.
And those are the good ones, the good news ones.
Okay. Thank you. So we have a raffle. I'm still not clear. I know we have money, but I don't know exactly how much because we have
We're not gonna win anyways.
Whatever last week was for the good days, probably like $50 or $60.
All right.
Kick yours.
No whammies.
Well, I was drinking your back. So, the number is 7524695. Mr. There's still a whole bunch of So here's your orange ball, and there's 9 balls in here because somebody won, a few weeks ago. So anyway, let's see if we can get the.
What does he go for? Win.
Yeah.
Wow!
We'll
What it means is there's 10 together.
So that much more for next week. Okay, so parting thought. Most of you probably remember the movie Back to the Future. There was a scene in Back to the Future where Christopher Lloyd is sitting in the DeLorean time machine, and he's talking to Marty McFly, and he says, It shows this picture of him, and he's sitting there in the front seat, and he's looking at Marty, and he says, "Marty, whatever you do, don't set it for 2020." So, anyway. So, we want to thank you all for being here. Thank you very much for coming. We hope you'll come back. And so, take care of yourselves, everybody, and we'll see you. I'm sorry, yes, ma'am?
Oh, I brought some persimmons, if anyone wants to take some persimmons home.
Oh, great, thank you. Okay, thanks very much.
Help yourself.
Okay, so thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week. We're on the computer.
Oh.
Sue, have you gotten access to your Paul Harris information? Here's the guy you need to talk to.
Oh, okay.
It was transferred over.